The Haunted Lagoon, 7 spine-chilling stories of cursed secrets and sinister revelations. Sarah had heard the stories all her life, tales wrapped in ghostly whispers and flickering lanterns. The residents of Lakeview, bustling and bright by day, transformed at night into secrets and shadows. They said the Haunted Lagoon was cursed. Shadows danced beneath its shimmering surface, and there were always chilling warnings about what lurked just out of sight. What the townspeople chatted about by the firelight was a different kind of terror than the comforting, communal tales pushed to the backs of their minds. The truth? Nobody knew how many children, over the years, had disappeared, sucked into the lagoon's depths as if taken by an insatiable monster. But Sarah was too busy. Single motherhood was exhausting, especially with long shifts at the diner and 2 kids who needed food and warmth. As summer turned Lakeview into a festival playground, joy and anxiety twisted tightly inside her. Emily, her teenage daughter, had started to share her own fears. Just last night, she had told Sarah about strange happenings down their quiet street, strange movements in their neighbors' yards late at night. "It's nothing but rumors," Sarah had dismissed. An icy chill crept up her spine, but she shook it off. Folklore was what built the community spirit. As the neon-lit parade rolled into town, laughter echoed, but a sudden scream pierced the joyous air. The sound slashed through the vibrant colors like a knife on silk. Faces turned, and Sarah felt her heart race. Where was Emily? The crowd roared with celebration, yet she felt only dread. Panic bubbled inside her, and she could barely breathe as she fought through smiling faces and eager children, their painted cheeks glowing in the summer dusk. "Mom," it echoed in her mind. But Emily was nowhere to be found. An electric fear clawed at her insides as she pushed past cotton candy stalls and darting kids. Then, a glimpse of bright blue hoodie slipping into the shadows near the edge of the lagoon. The sensation drew her like a magnet, but the stories flooded her mind. She warned Emily not to wander too close. The stories burned with truth, the ground she walked trembling under her feet. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The lagoon loomed ominously before her, its waters whispering sinister reminders of what was said to dwell below. As she ran toward her daughter, droplets sprayed like forceful reminders of the terror hidden beneath that beautiful shimmer. A chilling breeze brushed against her cheek, and the laughter from the festival felt suffocating now, a joyful veil hiding something far darker. "Emily!" she cried, but the air twisted her urgent plea. A heavy silence fell, closing around her. The lights of the festival dimmed, flickering like dying embers. The last joyful notes of music faded into the night as if the darkness was swallowing them whole. Just then, her phone buzzed violently against her leg, a final text from Emily. "Mom, I found something about our neighbor." "You won't believe what he is hiding." Her breath hitched, eyes wide with panic. Sarah was faced with a gut-wrenching choice: chase down the cold truth. Could it hurt Emily or retreat into the night, leaving the shadows of the lagoon to take what they will? As the festival lights flickered again, the hopeless truth clashed with her heart. Something terrible was coming. Would she expose the evil lurking in familiar places, or would the lagoon claim not just Emily, but her too? The moon hung high in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the lagoon as Sarah dove into the darkness. The chilling waters lapped at her feet, clawing at her as if warning her to turn back. So many voices had echoed throughout her life, warning of the depths that had claimed the innocence of children. But now, a mother's voice drowned out the whispers, the desperate call of Emily slamming against the walls of her mind. "Please, God," she gasped, forcing herself to the edge, scanning the surface. In the murky depths where the water met darkness, she thought she saw something moving. The shadows shifted, they seemed to pulse with anticipation, as if waiting for her next move. Dread crawled along her spine like 1,000 tiny spiders. She felt the weight of those ghost stories, felt them wrap around her throat like a vice as she knelt down, peering into the water. "Emily!" The name tumbled from her lips, desperate and hollow. A soft splash echoed, and Sarah jerked back, gasping. Could it be her daughter? Panic erupted within her, and before she could think, she stepped forward, her heart racing faster than her thoughts. The lagoon's surface shimmered invitingly, deceptive and smooth beneath the moonlight. She could almost hear Emily's laughter beneath the water, intermingled with distorted whispers that sent a shiver racing down her spine. Then, in the silence, it came a deep, guttural sound that rumbled from the depths, curling around her ears and tightening her throat. The tales clashed in her mind like a warning bell. There were things lurking below, creatures that thrived in the dark. The water stilled, and for a brief moment, the world fell quiet. Suddenly, she felt darkness surrounding her, wrapping her in its grip. It was a presence, heavy and unmistakable, the very essence of dread. The facade of the fun-filled festival faded from view, leaving only the ominous whisper of the lagoon behind. Sarah's instincts screamed for her to run, but her heart refused to abandon her daughter. "Emily!" She called again, though her voice trembled with fear, trembling in the silence that followed. She knelt at the water's edge, fear clawing at her throat as she peered into the depths once more. A face flickered in and out of focus, a momentary reflection that made her heart stop. It wasn't Emily, it was something else, a visage twisted in anguish and rage, one that stretched and faded like smoke. She pulled back, breathless, her head spinning. The light from the festival flickered, a distant echo of happiness, fading amidst her rising terror. Memories flooded her, every whispered tale, every warning brushed aside as mere folklore. But now, it felt all too real, like it had been building towards this very moment. "Mom!" The voice. It was distant, a haunting echo carried on the wind. "Emily!" Sarah lunged into the water, the coolness enveloping her. She felt it pulling her down, the grip slippery and dragging. The taste of salt mixed with the world above, stronger now. "Where are you?" she shouted, desperation surging within her. Then, the water erupted, swirling around with a force that nearly knocked her off her feet. An arm emerged, a hand reaching up, clawing at the surface for freedom. Sarah's heart exploded with urgency as she stretched out her arm, but something grabbed her ankle, pulling her back into the abyss. Her heart hammered. She thrashed, gasping for breath as icy tendrils pulled her deeper. But still, she couldn't let go. They had to find Emily. "I'm coming," she gasped, fighting against the unseen malice. With a ferocious kick, she broke free from the grip, clawing her way to the surface. She burst forth, gasping and choking on the air, but fear surged anew as she now sensed an impending darkness, the embrace of something lethal closing in. In the water, a shadow loomed closer, twisting below. Panic surged again. Everything turned to chaos, yet somewhere in the maelstrom, she could hear Emily's voice, faint yet steady. "Mom." But where? The darkness surrounded her, threatening to pull her under once more. It whispered promises of despair, and dread narrowed her focus like a tunnel. What had she unleashed by coming here? As she turned back to the water's edge, the lagoon glimmered sinisterly, the shadows beneath it whispering secrets and truths that begged to be uncovered. But was she willing to face what lay below? There was no turning back now. And as the last flicker of hope faded, Sarah prepared to grapple with the lurking horror beneath the surface. What truths awaited, and at what cost? The cold water pounded against Sarah's skin, but the piercing fear inside her kept her moving. She treaded water, striving to make sense of the chaos swirling around her. "Emily!" The desperation in her voice echoed into the stillness, swallowed by the depths. The lagoon pulsed, and the shadows danced just beyond her reach, promising refuge but revealing even darker intentions. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown, a reminder that time was slipping away. She didn't know how much longer she could keep fighting the pull of the water, the weight of its sadness dragging at her limbs. "I can't lose you," she cried, straining her eyes to pierce the gloomy depths below, and then it happened. A flicker, a movement. She gasped as a figure broke the surface, and for a moment, hope bloomed in her heart. "Emily!" But it wasn't her daughter. The face that surfaced was that same twisted visage she had seen before, haunting and contorted, wet hair clinging to a pale, frantic expression. Its eyes darkened with sorrow, full of a pain that seemed to reach out, pleading for liberation. The moment broke when a grating, hollow laugh sliced through the air. "Join us!" It came from somewhere deep below, slithering through the water like a venomous siren's song, weaving through the fabric of night. Sarah clawed backward, her heart racing, though in which direction she was unsure. The water around her seemed alive, thrumming with energy that zipped through her arms and legs. Dread wrapped like chains around her chest, squeezing tighter as if to remind her of the unseen hands waiting just below the surface. "Get away!" she shouted, her voice trembling amidst the echoing laughter. Still fighting the depths, Sarah twisted around, searching for any sign of her daughter. The legions of shadows beneath the water beckoned, taunting her, whispering secrets she was too frightened to comprehend. Each pulse of the water felt mocking, intensifying the silence that hung heavy in the night. Then she heard it. "Mom, help me!" The voice was faint, muffled by the water but unmistakable. Sarah plunged beneath the surface, willingly descending, heart racing against the pressure. It was dark, deeper than she had thought, and yet, she swam harder, driven by the love that throbbed in her chest. The vision of Emily's face, her laughter, her tiny hands squeezing hers, it all pushed her forward. But then, from the corner of her eye, she saw a swirl of glimmering scales, shifting shapes that wrapped around her, pulling her back. A surge of panic surged through her as she flailed against the water. She gasped, and the salty taste of the lagoon clotted her throat. Something cold and slick slipped past her waist, and she shrieked as the shadows came alive. "Stay away!" she screamed, flinging her arms wildly. The laughter followed her, now mixed with sinister murmurs, promises of things long forgotten hidden beneath the water. As she broke the surface again, her eyes wide with terror, she caught sight of the shoreline, her only chance to escape. "Emily!" she shouted one last time, her voice cracking with despair. Suddenly, the water erupted once more, and a massive wave crashed over her, dragging her back. Her lungs burned, desperation clawing at her insides. Just before she was engulfed in the dreadfully dark embrace again, she caught a glimpse of a hand, reaching for her. A chill pierced her heart as she realized the truth. The lagoon was not just hiding Emily, it was a guardian of lost souls, claiming those who sought to bring their loved ones back from the dark. With one final surge of willpower, she kicked hard, fighting against the intoxicating embrace of despair, longing for life over the void. "I will not let you take me!" she roared, scrambling toward the fading light of the shore. But as she broke free, gasping for breath, reality twisted once more. In the distance, a figure loomed, silent and watching. The moonlight barely illuminated a face she recognized too well, a face she swore she had left behind. Was her fight only beginning? And as Sarah climbed onto the shore, shivering and soaked, she turned to find no one there, only the cold winds carrying the laughter of the lagoon, and the faint whisper of a different call altogether. What else had she awakened? The chill of the night wrapped around Sarah as she staggered onto the shore, her heart still pounding wildly in her chest. Dripping and shivering, she felt the damp earth beneath her, a stark contrast to the icy grip of the lagoon that still threatened to pull her back. The laughter echoed faintly behind her, a sinister reminder of the horrors lurking just below the surface. "Emily!" she cried out again, the word turning into a desperate plea, her voice cracking with hopelessness. She scanned the shore, frantically searching for any sign of her daughter. But the darkened corners of the beach held only shadows, and suddenly, she felt very alone. She pushed herself up, ignoring the sharp stones digging into her palms, a small price to pay for safety, at least for now. But where was Emily? Had her daughter heard her cries? The thought clawed at Sarah, each pang of fear draining her strength. Then she remembered the face in the water, the one that wanted Emily. What was that thing? She whispered to herself, trembling as the chill seeped deeper into her bones. A rustle among the trees snapped her attention, and she turned, eyes wide. Was someone there? Shadows danced among the branches, obscuring everything. "Hello?" she called out, her voice shaking. The trees remained silent, their gnarled limbs twisting like bony fingers towards her. Sarah's breath quickened as she stumbled backward, her mind racing with the realization that she might not be alone after all. "Is anyone there?" she urged, but there was only the soft whisper of wind in response, chilling her to the core. Suddenly, there was another sound, soft, almost like a child's laughter, but it was woven with something darker, a tinkling that faded before she could grasp it. "Emily!" she screamed, alarm flooding her voice. Then, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was small, hunched, and moving with an unnatural grace. Her heart leaped, only to crash again as she saw the glimmer of wet hair hanging over the creature's face, obscured and grotesque. The moonlight caught the silhouette, and she could make out the outline of a child or something that once was. "Mom, you came back," it whispered, a voice all too familiar yet disturbingly wrong. "Emily! Is that you?" Sarah shouted, her pulse racing. Each step forward was a battle against the urge to run. But she had to know. The figure raised its head, revealing eyes that were a hollow reflection, missing the life she cherished. "Why did you leave?" it asked softly, a thick sadness enveloping its tone. "I didn't mean to. I was." Sarah couldn't finish. The resemblance struck her like a spear, memory and dread intertwined, pulling her into a web of agony and hope. She took a shaky step closer, yearning to embrace the familiar face but terrified of what it could mean. "I'm sad, Mom," the figure said, voice echoing with eerie echoes. "You have to help me or I'll be lost forever." The shadows stirred again, the air feeling thicker as whispers floated around them, growing into a maddening crescendo. Join us," called the variations of lost souls, seeping into her thoughts, dark and enticing. Her skin prickled as she struggled to breathe, the weight of the unseen pressing down, threatening to strangle her very will. "No!" she shouted, forcing herself to look away, to focus on that place where love beat stubbornly in her chest. "You're not real. Emily needs to be," but it was too late. The abyss washed over her. The figure began to dissolve, folding back into darkness as the laughter erupted again, swelling with triumph. The lagoon glimmered ominously, redesigning its thirst for chaos. "Mom, help me," the voice floated away, lost in the night. Sarah felt the ground give way beneath her. She stumbled, heart racing, fighting against the tide pulling her back toward the water's edge. "Please," she cried, desperate to keep herself rooted in reality. "Don't go." But as the shadows crept closer, consuming everything around her with their stifling darkness, she understood something terrifying. What if Emily wasn't the only one lost? As the last scream faded into the chilling winds, Sarah braced herself for the truth lurking just beneath the surface, inching ever closer, threatening to pull her under. What other secrets lay buried within the lagoon, waiting for a soul foolish enough to search for them? The darkness crawled around Sarah like a living thing, each whisper from the shadows pulled tight against her skin. The laughter echoed still, mocking her desperation, creating a grim soundtrack to her growing dread. She staggered backward again, each step sinking deeper into the grave of fear surrounding her. "Where are you, Emily?" The question clawed at her throat. She gripped the cold, damp earth as if it might anchor her to sanity. Yet, somewhere in the depths of that lagoon, she sensed more than just the loss of her daughter. There was a gnawing awareness that something else was alive in the water, hungry and waiting. With trembling hands, she dug into her pockets, searching for anything: her cell phone, a flashlight, a savior. Her fingers brushed against the small charm bracelet Emily used to wear. The cold metal stung her palm, and she squeezed it tightly. It was all Sarah had left. The tears began to flow freely now, blurring her vision, mixing with the salt of the sea. "Mom, help me," the voice lured her again, pure yet tainted, echoing eerily from the water's edge. It tugged at the remnants of her heartstrings, each note pulling her back toward the darkness that birthed those relentless shadows. She peered into the lagoon, the surface shifting lazily under the moonlight, concealing everything beneath like dreamscapes hiding spectral nightmares. Just then, another shiver danced down her spine. The air thickened, and the laughter transformed manic, hungry. It twisted in her ears, a symphony of forgotten souls beckoning her to join their ranks. The ground shifted, and Sarah's instincts screamed for her to run. Could she leave? What if she ran and left Emily buried beneath those haunted waves? "Don't go back. You must find me." The voice cracked, and this time it was layered with fear, as if it knew that the lagoon was hungry, always hungry. Gathering her courage, Sarah steeled herself. "I'm coming for you," she called out, though doubt gnawed at her heart. Thrusting the charm into her pocket, she stepped toward the cold water, each movement fighting against her primal urge to turn and flee. Suddenly, the water bubbled violently, breaking the surface with a chilling splendor. Hands thin, elongated and writhing clutched at the air, surfacing from the depths. They were wet and glimmered with dark fluid, reaching for her like spiders craving a fly caught in their web. Panic surged through her veins. No! She screamed, stumbling back further, panic rising higher. The figures pulled themselves free, revealing hollow eyes and distorted faces, twisted remnants of what might have been. We're here, we're waiting. The abyss of the lagoon gaped wide, summoning her closer. Clenching her fists, Sarah had to push through. Emily! I'm coming! But before she could advance, the air thickened again, fingers wrapped around her ankles, yanking her toward the water. She screamed, the sound catching in her throat, wild and desperate. Let me go! The lagoon roared, the sound deeper than any human groan. Sarah flailed against the pull, fighting with everything she had, but the grip was relentless, an otherworldly strength dragging her closer to her worst nightmare. Join us, the chorus of tortured souls sang around her, a macabre melody insistent and cruel. Sarah could feel the cold water lapping at her knees, dark and beckoning, swallowing the stars reflecting on its surface, but in that dim light, something flickered. Amid the chaos, a small shape emerged, not monstrous, but familiar. A glimmer of that old charm bracelet, glinting briefly. Mom! Emily! Just as she lunged forward, the water erupted, an upward swell that sent her tumbling. Breath knocked from her lungs, she surfaced weakly, gasping for air. The shadows had bared their teeth, and now, she faced an impossible choice. Would she dive into the maw of the lagoon, risking it all for her daughter, or would she flee from the danger, abandoning the hope of finding Emily alive? The tempest roared in answer, the lagoon still alive, ever-hungry. As the tide crashed over her, dragging her beneath the surface, Sarah knew one thing for certain, the shadows weren't finished with her yet. What lies at the bottom? She pondered, feeling the darkness close in, clutching at her with icy fingers waiting to reveal the next secret. The water engulfed Sarah, cold as death, wrapping around her like an embrace from the abyss. Her lungs burned as she fought to break the surface, kicking desperately against the unseen hands tugging her below. The lagoon had become a living entity, its hunger palpable in the frigid grip around her. Emily! I'm coming! She shouted as her throat filled with water, but the voice in her mind chanted a different refrain. Join us. She clawed at the murky fluid, a frenzy of panic propelling her upwards as memories of her daughter danced just beyond her reach. Flashes of Emily's laughter, her joy on summer days, moments that felt ages away now. Despite the fear, despite the suffocating darkness, she fought. With one final thrust, Sarah broke free into the moonlit air, gasping for breath. Heart pounding, she turned frantically, eyes scanning the lagoon for any sign of her daughter. The water glimmered like scattered glass, taunting her. Mom, please! That pleading voice sliced through the roaring chaos. It echoed, chilling her to the bone, yet it felt so close, so real. She had to believe. She had to hope. Emily! I'm right here. Each breath sent invigorating warmth through her chest, but it was met with the bone-cold reach of the water. Shaking, she steadied herself for another plunge. Suddenly, the figures arose again, their gaunt forms rising like smoke from the depths. Eyes like obsidian stared back, hungry and hollow. They slithered towards her, dragging droplets of the lagoon's essence with them, and Sarah felt her resolve beginning to crack. Help us! They wailed, voices a cacophony of sorrow. Join us, stay with us, forever. With each seductive whisper, the ethereal beings circulated around Sarah, encircling her, ready to pull her into their sorrowful depths. Their faces twisted, contorting with rage and despair. They were the lost children and mothers, brides betrayed, souls hungering for salvation. No! She shook her head violently, desperate to sever the link to their endless suffering. The charm bracelet, now slick with water, caught her eye again, glowing faintly amidst the gloom. It was the sole reminder of her daughter, a talisman of hope in this nightmare. Please, Emily! She felt the words surge within her, a lifeline that spanned the void. But as she reached for the bracelet, the dark figures tightened their grip, pulling the precious charm away from her grasp. The laughter morphed, shrieking, curling around the night air. You cannot save her. You cannot save yourself. The grip on her heart tightened as she felt despair wash over her. What if the sirens of the lagoon were right? What if all hope was lost? Taking a deep breath, she steadied her trembling limbs. If she couldn't outswim them, maybe she could outsmart them. You want my soul? You want me? She shouted, the defiance sparking in her eyes. You'll have to fight for it. With that, she plunged back into the icy grasp, powered by determination. The water swallowed her whole, a tunnel of darkness that beckoned her forward. But instead of despair, a spark surged through her, a newfound strength, a fierce will to survive. As she dove deeper, shadows flickered around her, and something shone at the bottom, a beacon of light in the murky depths. It was more than just the charm, it felt like the essence of her daughter wrapped in a warm glow, promising salvation. With renewed vigor, Sarah kicked toward the light, ignoring the frigid tendrils clawing at her legs. Just as her fingers grazed the surface, the shadows coiled tighter around her. You cannot escape! They shrieked, a collective howling that reverberated in her very bones. Panic ignited anew, but she couldn't stop now, not with hope flickering before her. What lies at the bottom, her life or my soul? The water churned in rage, but she surged forward, sinking into the light, desperate to unravel the mystery hiding below. As Sarah felt herself swallowed by that radiant glow, the shadows shrieked in fury, you cannot keep that which you seek. And she realized a choice lay ahead, shrouded in darkness and luminous. Promise. Would the light guide her to Emily's safety, or was it another trap, luring her deeper into despair? The lagoon held its breath, secrets yet to be revealed. The light enveloped Sarah, dazzling and fierce, driving back the dread that clung to her like a second skin. It pulsed around her, radiating warmth, even as the darkness whispered at the edges with gnashing teeth. She reached out, drawn toward the glow. With each kick, she felt the shadows retreating slightly, but they didn't disappear. They lingered, hungry for her despair. What was the truth hidden beneath the surface? Could this light truly be Emily? Each heartbeat thudded in her ears, a reminder of imminent danger and the desperate need to save her daughter. The shadows writhed, clawing at her thoughts, amplifying her insecurities. You are too late, you don't deserve her. The claim cut deeper than the cold waters around her. No! She screamed, her voice swallowed by the depths. Each desperate thrust forward met resistance, as the shadows thickened, coiling tighter around her. They pushed her into memories that she fought to escape, a time when Emily's laughter danced through the sunlit trees, unmarred by the weight of this darkness. She clung to that memory, wrapping it around her like a shield. Gasping, she focused on the light, willing it to guide her. Sarah reached for it, every fiber of her being desiring to pull it into her very soul. But as she extended her arm, the shadows surged, merging together, forming a massive figure, a twisted, shifting amalgam of every lost soul that had ever vanished in these waters. Join us! It roared, a cacophony of voices throbbing with anguish. Embrace the void! Sarah recoiled, heart racing. She couldn't give in. This was a test, a final trial before what lay beneath. Mustering all her strength, she yelled back, I will never join you. I choose life. That declaration, born from the depths of her soul, sliced through the suffocating tendrils, lighting a fire within her. In response, the shadows hissed, recoiling as if burned. The figure loomed larger, fury radiating from its very core, causing the water to churn violently. Just then, a familiar voice pierced the tumult, soft and pleading. Mom, help me! Emily's call resonated like a bell tolling in the darkness, grounding her. The warmth flared brighter, and Sarah's eyes locked onto that beacon of light below, more alive than ever. The swirling shadows began to fragment, chaos giving way to something different, an opening, a pathway leading deeper into the luminous depths. But could she trust it? Was this the key to saving Emily, or another cruel trick of the lagoon? A shiver raced down Sarah's spine, the very air around her thickening with dread. Sacrifice will lead you to answers, a voice murmured, sweet and sinister, floating through the water like smoke. The shadows twined, forming vivid images, faceless children, their eyes hollow and pleading, reaching out as if calling for their mothers. Each face bore a haunting resemblance to those she had lost, to every moment of love she had cherished. Will you turn your back on all of us? We can give you what you seek forever. Stop. Sarah thrashed against the tormenting thoughts, her willpower wavering. The light glimmered enticingly, promising safety, but behind it loomed the figure of despair. I just want my daughter. The shadows recoiled briefly, as if her sorrow cut deep. But then they surged forth, a tidal wave of despair crashing into her, drowning her in a torrent of lost souls and unanswered cries. With a surge of defiance, Sarah lunged forward, breaking through to the light. The moment her fingers brushed it, the lagoon erupted. A deafening roar filled her ears as the darkness screamed in anguish. It was in that moment, as she was immersed in overwhelming brilliance, that the realization hit her. She could either accept the truth of the darkness and find comfort in the embrace of her lost love, or fight for her daughter in this life, one where shadows and light were in a delicate, endless dance. Which path would she choose, and what darkness would she need to confront to save Emily? The answer awaited, curling just out of reach, as the water surged around her, rising like a wave eager to consume. The lagoon trembled under the weight of her decision, and the sirens' voices echoed, "Choose wisely." The light enveloped Sarah, bright yet terrifying, as the water swirled chaotically. Her heart raced, a metronome of fear guiding her through the shadows. She could feel them, dark tendrils, like icy fingers, gripping at her thighs and tugging her back, urging her to abandon hope. Emily! The name burst from her lips, desperate and raw, echoing into the dark. The shadows trembled momentarily, but didn't fade. They thickened, congregating around her, whispering in a chorus older than these waters. "You won't find her here," they hissed in unison. "You'll only find despair." With every breath, the oppressive weight of their presence pressed in, threatening to crush her resolve. The light ahead pulsed, flickering like a dying star. She had to reach it. She had to support that radiant glow, or risk drowning in the suffocating depths of despair alongside the countless souls that echoed from the depths, lost and forgotten. "Let go, Sarah." The whispers taunted. "She's never coming back. Come with us and find peace." She clamped her eyes shut, shaking her head violently. "No. I refuse to listen." The memories of Emily flooded her mind, the mercy of laughter, the warmth of hugs, the hope that glimmered in her daughter's eyes. The shadows wove those memories into a tapestry of manipulation. She could almost see Emily's smile, stretched across the darkness. Suddenly, a swift surge beneath her startled Sarah, propelling her toward the light. The warmth engulfed her, wrapping her in comfort. A vision flared. Her daughter, standing at the water's edge, hair twisted by the wind, eyes wide with terror. "Mom, help me. Please. Emily." Instinct ignited every fiber within her. The water churned violently. Sarah kicked against the torrent, moving fiercely toward the light. But then, an anguished shriek cut through the chaos, ripping her attention from the vision. The shadow figure reared up, enormous, monstrous. It howled, "You crave what is lost. You cannot protect her." The shadows swarmed around Sarah, writhing and pulsing, their touch cold and demanding. "Sacrifice, Sarah. Give us what we desire, and you shall have her back." "No!" she shouted, fighting against the tide. "I will not bargain for her." In the flickering light, Sarah made a choice. Stealing her thoughts, she channeled all her love into a single, powerful thought: "I choose you, Emily." She lunged forward, stretching her hand toward the beamed eye. In that instant, the lagoon erupted. A roar filled the air, tumultuous and tireless, drowning her cries and turning warmth to an unbearable heat. The shadows twisted and screamed, shriveling back from the light as if scalded. Yet within this blinding radiance, a sickening realization gripped her heart. Someone had to pay her or the shadows. And in the eye of this storm, as the battle raged, a chilling clarity settled. The cost of love was never light. As the water surged around her, the shadows fragmented into a swarm, each face twisted in agony, searching for salvation, whispering the truth of her darkest fears. Joyous let go a sorrow so deep that it threatened her very existence split open inside Sarah. The darkness pulsed around her like a heartbeat, urging her to yield. But among the cries of the damned, something wavered, a thread of clarity. Emily's voice persisted beneath them all, fierce and unyielding: "Fight for me, Mom." With renewed vigor, she surged forward, arms clawing against the oppressive depths. But would this desperate act save her, or sink her deeper into despair? The answer shimmered in the depths even as she approached the light, and as she neared, the very fabric of the lagoon trembled in anticipation of her decisive moment. What horrors awaited her beyond? The final moments hovered, suspended in uncertainty, dark and enticing, whispering promises of answers as if the devastated waters themselves beckoned her closer to the brink. The light engulfed Sarah,
shimmering like hope yet radiating a terrible warning.
Fear gripped her chest as she felt the pulsating shadows close in, writhing and alive, desperate to drag her down into their cold embrace. She could barely breathe, each ragged gasp filling her lungs with dread. Suddenly, a shadow broke away from the mass, slithering toward her with purpose. A face formed within the darkness, an agonized expression frozen in a fit of torment. It was a reflection of despair, one she understood intimately. "You can't fight them, Sarah. They want you to join us." The whispers blended into a single voice that echoed the depths of sorrow she feared to face. "Shut up!" she screamed. The sounds of the lagoon twisted around her, drowning her words in a murky rhythm. She wouldn't succumb to that darkness. Not now. Not ever. Summoning every ounce of her will, Sarah surged forward, breaking the surface of the light. Her fingers brushed the warmth, igniting an almost electric shock through her body. The vision of Emily flickered again, brighter now, fighting against the shadows just beyond the edges of that brightness. "Mom! Don't stop!" Emily's voice rang like a lighthouse call, sharp and invigorating. Sarah's heart raced. She reached out again, desperation fueling her speed. But the shadows struck back. Sharp tendrils lashed out, cutting into her resolve. They pulled her, wrapping tightly around her limbs, trying to snare her spirit. "You'll never see her," they shrieked. "You're trapped. Come to us. Free yourself." The words wormed into her mind, twisting, turning. The pool darkened, and for a moment, a memory flickered in her thoughts, Emily giggling on a summer afternoon, her laughter dancing up to the skies, a moment when joy bloomed, echoing only peace. Sarah latched onto that memory, letting it guide her, holding onto it tightly like a lifeline thrown into stormy waters. "No!" she roared against the cold grasp. "I won't let you take me." Determination surged through her like a flame rekindling within her chest. The warmth of that light, the image of Emily, spurred her forward. With a final push, she leaned into the glow, stretching her hand toward the brilliant beam. The shadows screamed in a cacophony of rage. They were not just shadows, they were lost souls, grasping for any shred of light, clinging to her like vines on a derelict tree. "Remember us," they wailed, twisting her resolve. A sudden crack echoed, disconnecting Sarah from the darkness that clotted her. The warmth washed over her, igniting her limbs, unleashing a palpable power that coursed through her veins. The shadows recoiled as she felt herself rising toward the light, a force pulling her upward from the raging depths. Yet, just as she thought she was breaking free, a voice sickly sweet and filled with sorrow slipped through the chaos. "You think you can escape? This is your legacy now, Sarah. Your love will bind you to us." The moment shattered. Fear crept back, curling icy fingers around her spine. Would her escape only bind her to the shadows forever? Caught in the air between light and dark, Sarah hesitated, glancing back at the swirling mass below. Would running save her, or simply let the darkness win? As the light shimmered brighter, something deep within the shadows flickered back, a glimpse of a lost memory, one meant for Sarah alone. What are they hiding? She wondered as doubt licked at the pit of her stomach, tightening its grip. The answer beckoned loud, fierce, and terrifying. Just as the shadows lunged again, toward her retreating form, the water surged, and the air crackled with energy. As she reached the light, Sarah felt truth mingling with terror. She hadn't faced the worst yet. What horrific truth awaited her when she crossed this threshold? The light burned fiercely, greater than any fear that clawed at Sarah's heart. She pushed into its embrace, feeling the pulse of warmth radiate through her bones while shadows writhed in agony below. The air changed, electric with tension, and every instinct urged her to flee from the darkness that whispered, that hollowed her resolve. "Emily!" she cried, her voice echoing through the scintillating void. As she surged toward the blinding glow, she heard it again, the sweet, vibrato call that was both joy and sorrow intertwining. "Mom! Help me!" It was there, like a beacon wrapped in desperation, pulling her in a way that transcended the world around her. But then, as if sensing her relentless will, the shadows responded with an ear-splitting cacophony. They transformed, a tumultuous mass surging and clawing, reaching for her like hundreds of icy fingers. "You cannot defy us. You belong here. They screamed, a chorus of lost souls who longed for companionship in their dark fate. Their breath hissed against the shore of her consciousness, each word a reminder of the abyss she faced.
No! Sarah shouted defiantly. You will not take me. I refuse to belong to you.
With the last vestiges of her strength, she flung herself toward the light. She could feel its pulsating heartbeat, a rhythm steady and comforting, unfolding questions of purpose within her. That warmth was calling her daughter, guiding her toward a soft embrace, a reunion waiting just beyond the darkness. Then she saw it, the essence of Emily, shimmering in those brilliant depths, freedom glinting like stars scattered across a night sky.
Mom!
Emily's presence flickered, impossibly close yet tragically distant.
Hold on! Sarah shouted, desperate to bridge that divide.
The shadows shrieked, magnifying in fury as they strained against the light, twisting into figures that resembled those she had lost.
Save us! We've been here too long.
Their hollow voices wailed in protest, each one echoing with sadness and despair, seeking to entwine her heart in their sorrow.
Enough!
Sarah barked, rising against the overwhelming tide of guilt and fear. She focused on Emily, drawing strength from the memory of laughter spilling across their backyard, summer days where love bound them happier than any shadows could unfold. The faces of lost souls blurred, the echoes faded to background noise, a mere hum against the fierce song of defiance that surged within her. Just then, the glimmer of the charm bracelet surfaced in her mind, sparking clarity. She plunged deeper into that light, ready to face what lay beneath the shimmering veneer. With every stroke, she felt the dark clutches release, unfurling like the arms of a lover, losing their grip with every triumphant heartbeat echoing louder in her ears. As she finally broke into the radiant warmth, her fingers curled around Emily's arm, pulling her close.
I found you!
Tears of relief streamed down Sarah's cheeks, mingling with the water, wrapping them in a cocoon of love.
Mom, I was scared!
Emily cried, her eyes wide with innocence.
Yet underneath, Sarah sensed a glaze of knowing, of fears realized, of heaviness endured. But she didn't have to face it alone anymore.
We'll face it together, Sarah whispered, her heart swelling with steadfast resolve.
No more darkness.
The shadows roared, an all-consuming fury rising, but it was too late. Sarah had chosen love over despair. With Emily entwined in her arms, she turned toward the shimmering expanse, ready to vanquish the haunting whispers that loomed behind. And then, as they emerged from the water's depths, the oppressive darkness cracked. Light shone bright, bathing them in broken pieces of the past, illuminating their path. The shadows recoiled, their screeches dwindling like echoes in the void, leaving only silence where they once thrived. But then Sarah heard it, a soft murmur, a voice like a breeze weaving through trees. You might have won this round, but remember, shadows linger where light dares not shine. Sarah tightened her grip on Emily, heart racing, but knew she wouldn't let anyone or anything take
them again. You will not have us.
I choose my daughter, I choose love. The lagging darkness slithered and hissed, retreating back into the depths, but its memory would always stay tucked away and safeguarded, a reminder that love would never truly be silent. As they stepped onto the shore, the moon hung high against the night sky, encased in brilliant stars. Each flicker of light was a promise engraved deep within the fabric of reality, that they had defeated the darkness for now. Hand in hand, Sarah and Emily walked away from the haunted lagoon, their laughter mingling with the night, a sound sweeter than any whispers of sorrow. They moved forward into their lives, embracing every moment, knowing the shadows would always lurk nearby.
Mom? Emily asked, gaze unwavering. Yeah? Sarah smiled, sedated by the warmth of the companionship they shared. Do you think the lagoon will ever call again?
With the remnants of the fight still pressing in the back of her mind, Sarah replied, belief buoying her spirit, it doesn't matter.
We will always answer with love.
And as they ventured forward, shadows remained, but so did the light. If you enjoyed this heart-pounding conclusion, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories.
Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and help us grow.
Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending, your thoughts truly matter. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support keeps us going, and true fans understand the importance of standing together in this journey.